So I've been playing the hell out of Space Marine 2, the campaign, the PvE operations mode, and I've been having a blast so far. You can check out my previous video talking about my full thoughts on the game. The thing that stood out to me, which warranted its own video, is PvP. Space Marine 2's PvP is surprising and not what I expected. So much so that I wanted to discuss why and how this seemingly tacked on mode is the best PvP experience I've had in years. Eternal War is Saber Interactive's latest attempt at bringing PvP to the 40k universe. 6v6, Chaos versus Loyalists, 6 classes, 3 maps, and 3 game modes. On the surface, this can feel very limited in its content, and it totally is. By the standards of most PvP games nowadays, it should launch with a multitude of modes and at least 6 multiplayer maps. This would be a very big worry if the game's focus was entirely on PvP, but it isn't. The feeling I got after the first few hours of play was similar to the 360 PS3 era of multiplayer games. A boatload of fun for a tacked on multiplayer mode. This happened to countless games in that time period to be able to sell some extra copies having an extra multiplayer mode attached. A lot of people loved Assassin's Creed Brotherhood's multiplayer, Splinter Cell Blacklist, BioShock 2, even GTA 4's first online wasn't that fleshed out but was a lot of fun. Uncharted, The Last of Us had the factions mode, and a lot of people remember those fondly. That is the exact feeling I get from playing the multiplayer in Space Marine 2 and playing the base game in general. It's kind of a callback to a bygone era. It's easier to say this and be done with the video. So let's ask why. And you can find out why by clicking the subscribe button down below for more content like this. Part of the reason it feels so good is the core game itself. Each class is an extension of what you do in campaign and PvE. That means that the combos are the same, class abilities are the same, and the guns that you shoot are the same. The reason this is so good is because PvP in Space Marine 2 doesn't add any unnecessary bullshit. No extra perk trees to unlock on the classes, no perks on weapons that give you bonuses and extra gimmicks, no fluff, just straight to the action and cutting the crap. Having this stripped back approach, whether they meant it or not, is actually for the benefit of the game. It's pure, it's simple, and it's fun. Although I talk about how simple the game is, there's a lot of depth here with the classes that you have to choose from. Each class has their own set ability, and at first you can find some abilities that you may think are more overpowered than others. Take for example the Heavy, who has the Iron Halo that can block damage. When I first ventured into PvP, it was the easiest to use and dominate with, and every time I would come up against it, I would get absolutely shredded. So I thought, okay, one of these classes is going to be better than the others. Then I came up against a Bulwark player as a Heavy. The shield that they have can pretty much block all range damage if you are sprinting towards an enemy, and it damages in the front. So you can just run down a Heavy, get in close, and start slashing away. You can coordinate with another class and take down the Iron Halo while the Bulwark takes the brunt of the damage. The other thing that you can do after a few more hours that I realized is you can just run away and change to a different class or avoid engaging with the Heavy on a front-on battle. The Tactical, for example, has a scanner that you can see enemies in an area. It seems quite boring as opposed to an assault pack or a grapple hook, but having no minimap gives you valuable information with the Tactical. This means that if you see a Heavy on the map, you can counter them by getting around and flanking, the typical things that you do in a multiplayer match. This then leads you to think, well, then the Bulwark is really overpowered because you can just block all range damage. Yes, but they don't have a ranged weapon that is that good outside of a pistol, which means that you can flank them, you can shoot them with a sniper in the head, and if you have the Vanguard, you can grapple hook onto their shield and stun them out of it, which means that you can follow up and absolutely destroy them. I also enjoy playing as the Sniper because I was able to go cloak and get behind certain problem classes and be able to do damage. The downside to playing as a Sniper though is you need to hit 3 shots to be able to kill certain enemies, or you can kind of pick them up if you do a headshot or you get in behind them and stab them a few times. But once again, if you think that's just an OP way of playing and you engage in an enemy, if you get caught off guard by multiple enemies, you're probably going to get beamed down by them. So you have to pick and choose the fights that you play. As I progressed further with the sniper, I was able to unlock a carbine, which is an awesome combo because you can go invisible, get behind people, and then shred them before they have any idea what has happened. The Vanguard, I also felt the same when it came to picking engagements that you get involved in. Even though you can grapple onto an enemy, you can also grapple onto parts of the environment, which means that you can get up onto spaces that other classes can't, giving you a bit of verticality that you can take advantage of as well. The downside to the class is that they don't have many really good ranged weapons. They have a lot of good medium to close range weapons that will absolutely shred, but you're going to get caught out if you don't get up close, and that's what the grapple hook is there for. Even the assault, which I think in the right hands is deadly. I just absolutely sucked using them for the first couple of games until I came up against a player that was moving all over the shop. I couldn't hit them. They were up on high levels and staying around their team and really playing into that assault mindset, but I wasn't able to do anything against them. You would think the assault class is going to be easy pickings if they hold themselves up in the air, but better players won't do that. Every class is good in the right hands. Every class has their strengths and weaknesses and counters to one another. This is such a core component of the multiplayer that I really love, because it means that there's a certain level of balance between all of the classes. This also is a part of the melee system in multiplayer, which is quite a bit different to the base game. When you do damage with melee in multiplayer, it does direct damage to an enemy's health, meaning that when you get close to a person, you can kill them a lot easier by just taking their health all the way down, by bypassing armor. Trade-off is that you get caught out in the open and you will be destroyed by people. So there's the knife, there's the chainsaw, there's the power hammer, and you have to be quite good with your combos. You can block. There's no parrying in multiplayer, but you can block and cancel out of certain animations and be able to kill people a little bit easier. So there's like a bit of skill involved if you play into it. As soon as I understood this, I was able to play more melee focused classes a lot easier. Being able to get stealthily in with the sniper and then stab a couple of people in the back was super satisfying when I realized this. The point I'm trying to make here is that Saber has found a perfect balance between gameplay and the classes. No one class feels the best or undervalued. It also helps that there are restrictions on how many of one class can be played. For example, 2 heavies can only be picked on one team of 6. And at first I thought, okay, this would be kind of a limiting factor, but after a few hours, the spread of classes in most games was really well balanced. It wasn't just 6 heavies or 6 snipers, which a lot of the time some multiplayer games kind of divulge into, or they're all using the same weapon. There was a good variety of weapons being used and also classes. The classes aren't the only reason though multiplayer feels so nice. It's the time to kill. I talk about time to kill to my friends a lot with PvP games, and I don't often play a lot of them because most of the time you die before you see anything happen. Space Marine 2 falls into the Halo / Gears of War time to kill value, so it's not too fast, but it's just enough time for you to be able to adjust. I tend to enjoy games that have a higher TTK because it offers you enough time if you get caught out or you push a little bit too far to understand where you've made a mistake and then correct that in your next life. You may disagree with me, but then again, maybe I'm just old and I enjoy knowing what's going on when I die in a video game. Progression in multiplayer is linear. Play more games, get more XP, unlock more weapons to be able to use. A really simplified system, the same as the gameplay. For example, getting to veteran level 8 unlocks the carbine for the sniper that I previously mentioned. You also unlock requisition points like you do in the PvE mode, but they're linked, so it means that you can play a whole bunch of PvP and then help yourself out in PvE. And it also is quite good and quicker to do PvP because you unlock more of the armor sets from more matches. You can get through things a lot quicker. And I like that. It's just a simple progression system. There's no extra BS that you have to go through. It's got great core gameplay, nice balance, and it's most importantly, as I've said many times, it is fun and an awesome time. The biggest reason the multiplayer is tacked on, in my opinion, is because we only have 3 maps and 3 game modes. We basically have TDM, Domination, and King of the Hill, and we have 3 maps currently. I think that the maps are pretty good. I haven't had any bad opinions on them, and I think the game modes are pretty good as well, but I think it's missing something unique to the mode. Maybe even capture the flag could be something cool to do with this multiplayer, and maybe an extra 3 to 6 months of a delay on the game could have been helpful to give us some more maps and modes. Yes, I know we're going to be getting them in the seasons coming up, but why couldn't we have them now if we just delayed the game a little bit longer? My biggest worry with the lack of variety in the modes and the maps is that the population will drop and then ultimately people aren't playing it. So they need to do something in the next couple of weeks to kind of spur and keep that player base alive. If I had a real gripe about the multiplayer, it would be that there isn't the ability to customize our Chaos Marines. So if you pick the other side, if you get selected for the opponents, you get a Chaos Marine for the corresponding legion that it is attached to or chapter. So for example, the Vanguard will be the Wild Eaters, the Night Lords is the Assault Pack, and there's also the Alpha Legion, which is the Snipers. And I hope that this is added in the future because, one, it's going to be good if they sell cosmetics because, you know, they've got to make money somehow, but also it's a big part of player expression for those that want to play as Chaos, and that's another big drawing factor. I want that, and I know other players want that as well. Over the last few years, I've really grown tired of anything multiplayer when it comes to more AAA stuff and even just new multiplayer games releasing. The focus on gimmicks or styles of play has been the focus, such as like hero shooters, battle royales, extraction shooters. It's become very tiresome, and the classic arena shooter has been falling away year on year. Games such as Gears of War, Call of Duty, Halo, they fit that genre of an arena shooter. These are the games that you would sign on and just play a few games and then have a good time whether you were winning or losing. And it feels now whenever there's a new multiplayer release, if you're not cracked at the game within the first week, then skill-based matchmaking kicks in and then we're playing, you know, an esports final every single time we play, and it just isn't fun anymore. Space Marine 2's PvP just hits that formula of good time, whether you're winning or losing. It's nice, it's simple, it's back to basics, and I've personally missed it. It's a good damn time for a few games. You can play it for a couple of hours, pick it up, put it back down, move on, which is what a lot of multiplayer games used to be. This may change going into the future, but it's such a refreshing experience and I highly recommend it. Be interesting to see how this is in 12 months time when they've added more maps and modes and maybe a new class or two to the game, and hopefully the player population is up there so I can come back and check it out and still have a good time. But there you go, that's Space Marine 2's multiplayer. I think it's the biggest surprise out of the entire package, which is why it deserved its own video. If you have enjoyed this video and you think it's been insightful, leave a comment down in the comment section what you think of the PvP or just Space Marine in general or multiplayer games in general. Tell me your thoughts, and as always, if you've enjoyed the content, leave a like on the video, subscribe as always. This has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.